Let's dive into 7 habits that completely changed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you heard that right. 1 week. I know it might sound too good to be true, but I assure you, these aren't just the usual tips you hear everywhere. These are real, simple, and genuine habits that I personally incorporated into my daily routine. I faced the challenges, made discoveries, and experienced breakthroughs. And the transformation I went through was nothing short of amazing. I can't wait to share this with you because they had such a huge impact on my life, and I believe they can do the same for you. If you're looking to boost your productivity, improve your mental health, or just make a positive shift in your everyday life, these habits can help you get there. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig in. Trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end because these habits aren't just theoretical, they're practical, simple steps you can start adopting today. Plus, I'll share some personal experiences and insights from my own journey, giving you a real view of how these habits worked for me. So without further ado, let's get started. Habit 1, waking up early. The first habit that changed my life was waking up early. Now let me be completely honest with you. I was never a morning person. My bed was my best friend, and I hit the snooze button more times than I can count. Mornings were always a rush, and I often felt like I started the day off on the wrong foot. But I decided to give waking up earlier a shot, and let me tell you, it made all the difference. I started by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. The first few days were tough. I dragged myself out of bed, feeling tired and wondering if it was really worth it. But I stuck with it, and by the third day, something amazing happened. I began to appreciate the calm and quiet of the early morning hours. There was something almost magical about being awake before the world, when everything was still and peaceful. With those extra hours in the morning, I found time for things I never seemed to have time for before. I began my day with a bit of light exercise, nothing too intense, just some stretches or a quick jog around the neighborhood. It not only woke me up, but also gave me energy for the rest of the day. I also set aside a few minutes to meditate and plan out my goals for the day. Those moments of mindfulness made a huge difference in my mindset and productivity. Another surprising benefit of waking up early was that I no longer felt so rushed. I had plenty of time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, savor my coffee, and plan out my day. That calm start set a positive tone for the rest of the day. I felt more organized, less stressed, and like I had more control over my time. One personal experience that stands out is the morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was a simple but incredibly beautiful moment. As the sky changed colors and the world began to wake up, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and peace. It was in that moment that I truly understood the power of waking up early. Now, waking up early might not be for everyone, but I encourage you to try it, even if it's just for a week. Start by setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier than usual and gradually increase the time. You might be surprised by the positive impact it can have on your life. It's not just about having more hours in the day, it's about using those hours to create a more mindful, intentional, and fulfilling start to your day. Habit 2, daily exercise. Speaking of exercise, the habit of moving my body every day was the second habit that really transformed my life. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't always the most active person. I used to come up with every excuse not to exercise. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day I decided it was time to make a change. I made a commitment to move my body every day for a week, and the results were amazing. I started simple, just 20 minutes a day, mixing things up with yoga, running, and some weight training. I wanted to keep it interesting so I wouldn't get bored and give up halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles were sore, and I felt exhausted. But I kept reminding myself why I was doing this: to feel better, both physically and mentally. By the fourth day, something incredible happened. I woke up feeling more energized, and my mood had improved dramatically. I was less irritable and more positive. I realized that those 20 minutes of exercise weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about taking time for myself, relieving stress, and boosting my energy. I remember one morning when I laced up my running shoes and headed out for a jog. The day was clear and crisp, And as I ran, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity that I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That feeling of connection to myself and the world around me was incredibly empowering. I also started seeing physical changes. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and I noticed a difference in my overall fitness. But the biggest change was in my mind. Exercise became my time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself, turning it into self-care rather than a chore. Habit 3. Journaling. The third habit is writing in a personal journal. At first, I thought this was for people with a lot of free time. I set aside just 10 minutes for journaling. I bought a simple notebook and a pen that felt good in my hand. No complicated apps, no pressure to make it look pretty, just me and my thoughts. On the first night, I stared at the blank page not knowing what to write, but then I started with something simple: how my day went, what made me happy, and what challenged me. Over time, I began to dive deeper. I wrote about my goals, my fears, my dreams, and even my insecurities. It was like having a conversation with myself, and that's when the magic began. I started to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized that some of the things I worried about were completely out of my control, while others were areas where I could take concrete action. One night, I remember writing about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to handle my emotions better. I wrote about what stressed me out, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently next time. This simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. Another strong aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I noted small achievements and significant moments, no matter how minor they seemed. Reviewing these notes gave me a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep moving forward. For instance, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my entire preparation process and the positive outcome recorded in the journal was extremely encouraging. I also created a gratitude section in my journal. Every day I wrote down 3 things I was thankful for. This practice shifted my focus from what I lacked to appreciating what I already had. It was a simple but meaningful change that brought more positivity into my daily life. One entry that stuck with me was about a kind act I experienced. A stranger helped me when I was struggling to carry my shopping bags. Writing about that kindness made me feel grateful and also inspired me to pay it forward. Through journaling, I discovered a lot about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to organize the jumble of thoughts and emotions we all carry. It offered a safe space where I could be completely honest with myself, free from judgment. If you've never tried writing in a journal, I highly recommend starting. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of thoughts, a summary of your day, or reflections on a specific moment. Give yourself the freedom to express how you're feeling. You might be surprised by the clarity and peace it brings to your life. Remember, it's not about what you write, but the process of writing itself. Mindful eating habit. Now let's talk about mindful eating. This was a big challenge for me because, like many people, I used to eat quickly without really paying attention to what or how much I was eating. My meals were often rushed and distracted, often done while scrolling on my phone or working on my computer. I didn't realize how much this was affecting my overall well-being until I decided to try eating more mindfully for a week. Mindful eating means paying full attention to the act of eating and drinking, both inside and out. It's savoring every bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the sounds of the food. So I committed to eating all my meals consciously. I started by organizing my meal environment. I cleared the table, set up a nice space, and eliminated any distractions. No phones, TVs, or computers. At first, it felt strange to sit in silence with my meal, but soon it became a relaxing ritual. I began each meal with a few deep breaths to focus and bring my attention to the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I started to enjoy my food. I allowed myself time to really savor and appreciate each bite. Foods I had eaten countless times suddenly had flavors and textures I had never truly noticed. For example, the crunchiness of fresh veggies and the sweetness of fruits became much more pronounced. It was like rediscovering food in detail. Another significant change was how much more satisfied I felt after meals. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body time to signal when I was full. This made a big difference for me since I used to eat quickly and often ended up overeating. By paying attention to hunger and fullness cues, I realized I ate less and felt more satisfied. One experience that stood out to me was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would eat it quickly without thinking, but this time I took my time, enjoying the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I added on top. This moment of gratitude and attention set a positive tone for the rest of my day. I also started to notice how different foods made me feel. Processed and heavy foods left me feeling tired and bloated, while fresh and natural foods made me feel lighter and full of energy. This awareness led me to make healthier choices naturally, without feeling deprived. Another important aspect of mindful eating is recognizing the emotional connections we have with food. I began to identify when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or emotional comfort rather than true hunger. This realization was powerful. Instead of eating automatically, I could address the emotion behind it. Maybe I needed a break, to rest, or to talk to a friend, rather than reach for a bag of chips. There was one night when I felt like having something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically grabbing dessert, I paused and asked myself if I was really hungry or just looking for a reward after a long day. I realized I wasn't hungry and chose a cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that highlighted the power of mindfulness in eating. Incorporating the habit of mindful eating has been a transformative experience. It has helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even increased my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit I maintain to this day and highly recommend. If you want to give it a try, start with just one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a deep breath, and enjoy every bite. Notice the flavors, the textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how much this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the foods that nourish you. Habit 5. Reducing screen time. The fifth habit is cutting down on screen time. This was especially tough for me, and I think it can be for many of you too. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. But I realized that this excessive screen time was affecting my mental health, productivity, and even my sleep. So I decided to set some limits and see what would happen. First, I set a daily limit of 1 hour for non-work-related screen time. This meant no mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, no spending hours on YouTube, and no late-night TV. At first, it was challenging since I was used to filling every free moment with my phone or TV, but I knew I needed to make a change. The first thing I noticed was how much extra time I suddenly had in my day. I had no idea how much time screens were stealing from me until I decided to keep track. With this free time, I rediscovered hobbies and interests I had set aside. I started reading a book I had been wanting to read, picked up drawing again, and even tried out new recipes in the kitchen. One night, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and simply moving around revitalized me. It was a stark contrast to the sluggishness I often felt after hours in front of a screen. That walk became a special part of my routine, something I looked forward to, and that brought me great joy. Another significant change was in my sleep quality. I used to bring my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I fell asleep, but that habit often left me restless and disrupted my rest. By reducing my screen time, especially before bed, it became much easier to unwind and fall asleep. I created a nighttime routine without screens, reading a physical book, meditating, or just reflecting on my day. This led to deeper, more refreshing sleep, making a huge difference in how I felt during the day. I also noticed improvements in my mental health. Without the constant flood of news, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more engaged in conversations, paying more attention to the people around me, and getting more involved in my daily activities. It felt like a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon in a cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even did a little sketching. It was a moment of peace and productivity, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and to my surroundings in a way that screens never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and setbacks, but whenever I caught myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my focus to something more fulfilling. Reducing screen time doesn't mean cutting technology out of your life completely. It's about finding a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I recommend trying to set some limits on your screen usage. Start small, maybe by cutting back an hour a day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, with loved ones, and with the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more rewarding life can become when you step back from screens and engage more with the real world. So everyone, that wraps up our journey through the 7 habits that changed my life in just 1 week. It's been an incredible experience, not just adopting these habits, but also sharing them with you. Each of these habits has the potential to create significant and positive changes in your life. And I truly believe that if they work for me, they can work for anyone. If any of these habits inspired you, I invite you to give them a try yourself. Start small, maybe with 1 habit, and see how you feel. Adjust as needed to fit your lifestyle. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but progress. It's about making small changes that lead to big transformations over time. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please leave a comment below telling me which habit you're thinking about adopting or any questions you have about getting started. Your comments and stories are what make this community so special and supportive. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have many more tips and ideas coming your way that you won't want to miss. Sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits can also make a big difference in their lives. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, small changes can lead to big results. Let's keep growing, evolving, and turning our routines into powerful moments of self-development. See you in the next video. Stay awesome, everyone.